Can you talk a little bit to shadow work? Because I love this topic, but I don't think we've actually really talked about it on the podcast. I'm trying to think, maybe a little bit with Jane Hardwick Collins, but yeah, I guess I'm just interested in your take on that. Like, you know, you said that's sort of the work that you do or your personal journey. So yeah, what does that mean to you? How do you kind of, you know, work through that in your life?
Definitely a shadow dweller. I definitely am. I mean, don't get me wrong. I find that terrain of the underworld, like that really mythical aspect of the feminine, which is about Persephone journey. Persephone was in the underworld, and that's how seasons were created on Earth, because Demeter, her mother, went through seasons because of her daughter Persephone being in the underworld with Hades. Yeah, exactly. And I'm really view my life as a seasonal journey and a cyclical kind of journey, and obviously that's the same with menstrual cycles, but that's another topic. So I really honour the shadow when it needs to come to surface. I think a lot of it has got to do with working with Sharon. Sharon's very much a shadow woman and a shadow worker, and it helped me realise that shadows are not enemies, shadows are friends. So I've discovered this more in going to my own therapy as well, learning more how to bring the shadow up and out of that shadow and bring it to light and learn its mysteries and its power and help integrate that. And that's how we become more of a whole and integrated person. When we say we don't want to be something and we shove it away, that's when that thing will come up and try to dominate us even more. So within the feminine psyche, there's a lot of that shadow work as well. We, like in women's work and women's workshops, people are familiar with that kind of world. There's a lot of promotion around like the dark feminine or the shadow feminine. Even in motherhood, there's a lot around like the dark mother. So I'm
Kali.
a big Kali, yeah, that kind of thing.
Thinking about some eating heads, yeah.
Yeah, even like the dragon
How do
mother.
you define shadow for yourself? Like the stuff that you avoid or feel triggered by, or is it like just anything in a sort of subconscious? Like how do you define that in terms of your work?
If something triggers me, then I definitely know that I'm looking at a shadow. You know, obviously you've got family stuff. That's the perfect place to do shadow work, is just go stay with your family for a week.
Yeah, you think you're spiritual, go hang out with your family.
Exactly. I just had my family here for 3 weeks, so I'm just decompressing. Actually, it's a good point though, because my mum and I ended up having a fruitful conversation after she stayed, which was her telling me that she gets triggered by me because she sees so much of herself in me. And I think that's a really good way to look at the shadow, is that like when you're having that mirror come up and place that thing in front of you, you've got to look at where that is unintegrated inside of yourself, that it's becoming a problem. And so we've gone into that a lot in more of the shamanic workshops that we've done with Sharon, but also in our women's work, the Empress and the Dragon, which is a 3-month women's program, which I'll be running up here soon. We work with the obsidian egg. So the obsidian egg is known for bringing up shadows and known for bringing up mirrors and triggers. And we work through that in the workshop on the weekend and the months after, because we want to be able to bring things up and have a look at them. But I'm really a big believer on there being a firm and held container for when shadows come up. Yeah,
especially when you're learning to work with that energy, I think, because
definitely
like powerful stuff.
Yeah. I'm not about going into shadow work and flinging your energy all around and getting crazy on it. Like shadows are things that we learn how to tame, and that's a very like Taoist perspective, which I know you're really into as well. And that's the background of our training as well, is Taoism. So learning how to do it with containment and befriending, and also like a right relationship, because when we don't allow an emotion to own us, we are just like being dominated by it. So it's
a possession of kind.
Yeah, exactly. So it's learning how to not allow shadows to possess us, but for us to find how to dance in a relationship with them. So shadows are mostly a mirror.